Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's regular meeting of the Council of the Township of North Dundas. And during this meeting, we also have a public meeting. So welcome to everyone that's here, and today being December 5th. Moved by Councillor Annable, seconded by Councillor Lennox, that the meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of North Dundas be hereby called to order at 4:30 p.m. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. There's been one amendment to the agenda to include the closed session minutes of November 13, 2024 under Section 14. Are there any other changes, Madam Clerk? Seeing none, thank you. Moved by Councillor Lennox, second by Councillor Annable, that the agenda be amended to include the approval of the closed session minutes of November 13, 2024 to Section 14. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Is there any disclosures? Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. At this point, we're going to enter the public meeting portion of tonight's meeting. Everyone present is urged to sign the sign-in sheet. We will now have a presentation regarding the proposed zoning amendment from our junior planner, Chantal Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Okay, let's get into it here. Oh, thank you. I can speak a little closer as well. Thank you for that, Natalie. I appreciate that. There we go. All right, so this evening we'll be discussing a zoning amendment from which I will present the legal criteria as well as the proposed amendment, after which I'll then pass it back to you, Mayor Fraser, for any questions or comments from the public. So a reminder that under Section 34 of the Planning Act, only a specified person, a public body, or the registered owner of the lands may appeal the decision of council as described here. So the zoning amendment considered this evening is to rezone a property from rural zoning to open space, restricted lands exception 1, and residential first density exception 12, the criteria for which we'll see in the coming slides. So the subject lands considered for this zoning amendment are legally described as Concession 9, part of Lot 7, former Township of Mountain, now the Township of North Dundas, County of Dundas being Part 1 and 2 on Reference Plan 8R-5987, municipally known as 10591 Kerrs Ridge Road in Hallville. On November 15th, a public meeting sign was posted on the property, and notice of the public meeting was mailed to all property owners, agencies, and public bodies within 120 meters of the property. I'll also note that this occurred during the beginning of the mail strike, so it was all delivered by yours truly, in person. That personal touch by the township. So for some context on the subject lands, the existing use of the area being considered for the zoning amendment is vacant forested lands as depicted on the screen here. The proposed use is to rezone the specified areas of the property for a proposed connection from the existing Hallville Parklands to the west towards a future subdivision to the east. It will also protect the area along the Wiley Creek Municipal Drain from environmental impacts through restricted land zoning, and it will incorporate site-specific zoning for a new triangular parcel that will front Morris Street, as you'll see in the coming slides, to restrict setbacks and house sizes on that resulting parcel. Okay. So the subject lands are located within the rural settlement area under the official plan and currently zoned rural. The proposed zoning would comprise of open space zone for the connection to the parklands, restricted land exception 1 zone for the areas along the municipal drain, and the residential first density exception 12 zone for the new resulting parcel that will front Morris Street. The area on the portion of the subject lands to be rezoned is approximately 1.6 acres, which you'll see depicted on the coming slides. So to summarize, the purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the subject property from rural to open space, restricted lands exception 1, and residential first density exception 12. The effect will create a parkland connection from the existing park to a future subdivision. It will protect the Wiley Creek municipal drain with a restricted land zone, and it will restrict the setbacks and house sizes for a new parcel that will front Morris Street. So moving now to discuss the provincial planning statement. So the proposed zoning amendment conforms with the PPS. It contributes to improving accessibility, promoting new housing which efficiently uses land, infrastructure, and public services and facilities, and supports the use of active transportation, and land use patterns that optimize public service facilities and support active transportation. The proposed zoning amendment conforms with the official plan as it provides access for and availability of an appropriate range of public service facilities, and the infrastructure shall be maintained to minimize, manage, or avoid adverse effects on human or natural hazards. Now, here is a snippet of the current zoning for the entirety of the subject lands, noting that in this amendment, we're considering only a portion of the land to be rezoned, specifically in the northwest corner, which you'll see better on the coming slide. Just for your consideration. So here is that change of zoning that I've been alluding to. So to break down the different sections here, the orange portion in the top leftmost corner will be rezoned to residential first density exception 12, as noted. The pink section that goes across the middle along the municipal drain will be rezoned to the restricted lands exception 1 zone to preserve any environmental impacts on the drain. And then the bottom portion in green there will be the open space zone for a future park connection, connecting from Hallville Park in the bottom left, you can see labeled there, across to a future subdivision to the east. Now, to date, we have not received any comments from ministries, public bodies, or from the public itself. And now I'll hand it back to you, Mayor Fraser, for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. So at this point, I'm going to open it up. And members of the public, if you wish to come up and speak at the mic, please state your name and address for the clerk to record before providing any comments or questions on the proposed amendment. Are there any comments from members of the public? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Annable.
Only that I think it's good planning. Wait for 2 years from now and the park's going, and then we go in again and stir things up. I think it's just good planning.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? So seeing none, I see that the Porens, is that correct? I see that they're here. You have any questions or comments you'd like to make? Well, I'm sure you're pleased, but we're more than pleased. We're ecstatic over this this opportunity, this gift, if you would, and I see it as that, and it really does support the development of that park and future, as Councillor Annable mentions, future planning is being looked after presently. So this is an exciting time. It may not seem like it, but it is exciting, and I look for Mr. Paul too, and I can tell he's grinning. So. This is fantastic. So thank you very much. If there's nothing else, this concludes the public meeting. Thank you to all who have attended and provided the comments from council. And so now we're going to move on to our delegations. Thanks, Mrs. Anderson. So we have 2 delegations tonight. We have with us up first from Habitat for Humanity, Cornwall and the Counties, Brecken Cars. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How is everybody here?
I'm sure they're all good.
All right, technology has not been my friend today, so let's hope that I'm okay with this one here. All right. Look at that. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this morning, or this afternoon, on behalf of Habitat for Humanity. I think pretty much everyone here already knows me, but if we haven't met, my name is Brecken Cares, and I head up community engagement for Habitat for Humanity, Cornwall and the Counties. I did grow up in South Mountain, and I went to Nation View in North Dundas, and one of my very first jobs was at King's Pizza in South Mountain, so I have pretty strong community ties. So pretty much everyone knows that Habitat for Humanity builds houses. Our affiliate has been building homes for more than 25 years, and in that time, we've completed 21 homes, 3 of which were this year alone. This included our first semi up in Maxville, and our latest project just concluded in Ingleside. We have been honored to build in North Dundas for the Morgan family, just around the corner here in Winchester, on land generously donated by the township. So obviously we rely on the partnership of local municipal governments for land donations and waived development fees, but I'm here this evening to share our new program. But of course, please always keep us in mind for vacant land that could accommodate new affordable housing in North Dundas. We are proud to be a part of an internationally recognized organization. The Habitat for Humanity brand and entity exists around the globe and right here in SDNG. As one of 46 affiliates working in Canada, we have support from Habitat Canada as well as great working relationship with our sister affiliates. It still also seems, though, that many people don't know that we don't give these houses away. We sell the homes that we build at fair market value, and we hold an interest-free mortgage. This creates an equitable asset for our partner families, and their mortgage payments are used to fund more local affordable housing, making the program extremely sustainable. We also follow free land to make this possible. We practice sustainability in all aspects of our agency, whether that be our build program, our restore, our remove project, which was made sustainable by your very own Logan Stanley, and soon our critical repairs project too. But why does housing matter? I know I feel silly asking this because at this point in the national housing crisis, I think we all know the myriad of answers to that one very loaded question. But let me throw some statistics at you, homeowner statistics, for a bit of context. Keep in mind, these stats from StatsCan use Cornwall as a center point, but the rural statistics are similar, if not more intense, because we tend to have more home ownership in rural areas. So, 11.8% of residents have identified that their homes are in need of major repairs. 3.2% say their home costs more than 30% of household income, was not suitable for their situation, and needed major repairs. And 3.9% are considered in core housing need. That is an astronomical number when you consider that's for homeowners. The fact that 9 in 10 Canadians believe there is a shortage of affordable housing in Canada really speaks to how dire this situation is. But when we work together to secure affordable housing, we see a wide scope of social issues be relieved at all levels. To date, we have moved 7 families out of Cornwall and area social housing. And of the 3 families that purchased their affordable homes in 2024, 2 were on the brink of homelessness. Kids do better in school, and parents go back to school or get better jobs. Overall family life and health improves, and food bank and other social service usages go down. Our staff receives multiple monthly inquiries requesting help with a roof repair, a ramp, something similar. I had a call a few weeks ago looking for help to get a furnace sorted for a gentleman about to go through his 2nd winter without heat. As we continue to see the impacts of the national housing crisis here more and more every day, we know that we have to do more beyond building houses. We hear too often that people have to make that choice between food or hydro. But how do you make that decision with something as crucial as the need to replace a furnace hanging over you as well? That is why we are launching the Critical Repairs Program. This program has already been piloted by Habitat for Humanity and other areas, so we've got a solid foundation. Adding this to our affordable housing portfolio means we can expand who we are helping. Whether it's seniors, families, or other vulnerable populations, we are able to serve more people who are able and willing to partner with us. But what is a critical repair? By definition, a critical repair is something deemed essential for a resident to maintain a legal, safe, habitable home, and it can also be an accessibility modification. We've heard firsthand from a key stakeholder, Mark, that a program like this would be crucial for his mother. In his case, she's lucky to have a Mark, her son, nearby to help with much needed repairs. But not everyone has a Mark. With our Critical Repairs Program, our team will assess the projects to make sure that the repair or modification is appropriate for the home. Then we complete the work. The homeowner will have their mind at ease knowing that they are working with an invested and trusted community partner. And keep in mind, the intent of this is to not cause financial burden. We recognize that these homeowners will have some form of equity in their home. Eligibility criteria is still being finalized. However, key elements will include that the home must be the primary resident of the owner must be considered low income, and that will depend whether we use the LIM or the LICO, we're not sure yet, and property taxes must be up to date. There must be insurance on the home, and the owner must be willing to partner with Habitat for Humanity. For example, we want to be able to help seniors with decades of home ownership under their belts, who likely have a lot of equity, but may not have the cash at hand to pay for often unexpected critical repairs. Not only will we be able to resolve health and safety deficiencies in affordable ways, but we will be able to give the homeowner a sense of pride and maintain their dignity while staying safely in their own home. Much like our home ownership program, this is not a handout. Homeowners will be responsible to pay back an interest-free loan to Habitat, which will then be used towards other affordable housing projects. But if this would cause financial strain, we can make other arrangements, such as a lien. Project costs will be capped at $12,000 each, but we know not all work will max out those budgets. The number of completed projects will be dictated on the total value raised through our appeals like this and our sponsorship package, which is currently circulating. We have already received support from Cornwall Toyota, and the United Way has contributed $25,000 to help us get started. We are reaching out to a large variety of other community partners in hopes of securing additional funds. Raised money will be used to offset construction-related costs, and goodness knows there's enough of these days. We are appealing to all of our townships and the City of Cornwall and the United Counties to support this new program with $10,000 each. But why am I here asking for $10,000 if the project will self-fund? Because like everything in this world, we need to seed the pot. The long-term sustainability of this project will mean we are able to offer critical repair support for our community for years to come. But if we don't have that money to start with, well, we can't get started. Building new affordable housing is only one part of the solution to the housing crisis. It has been estimated that for every new affordable housing unit being built, 10 are being lost. The first time I heard that statistic, I thought it was a joke. It is not. We need North Dundas's help to preserve as much affordable housing stock as possible. Please keep in mind that any support received from North Dundas, or any other townships for that matter, will be earmarked for projects in said township. And without local government support, we can't guarantee that we'll be able to complete local projects. As I mentioned, I grew up here. And even though I live in South Dundas now, I know, I'm still right up the road. My mother still owns a business here. We still go to the South Mountain Fair every year, and yes, I do still have my sash and tiara from my ambassador days. Deputy Mayor Bergeron, I know you saw that firsthand. I know that out in the counties, we are extremely proud people, and we tend to do a lot for ourselves. But it's okay to ask for help sometimes, and we want to be a part of that help while helping local residents maintain the pride that we know so much about. All of this means that we will keep people in their affordable homes safely and for longer. And with your help, we can do that one critical repair or two at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cars. At this point, I'm going to open up the questions, comments. I see Councillor Lennox.
First off, we won't blame you for living in South Dundas. You're an awesome human being, and thank you.
Thank you.
What interests me is, can you go one slide back, Natalie? Yeah, this little stat up here, for every dollar invested, the return to society is $4. I like that stat. It is, we're giving into a program to help our people, and in return, we're helping the greater good of society. Another stat I saw was 70% of Habitat families donate their time to charity, and it seems like those who are less fortunate are always giving back. And I would like to see a top-down approach someday, but maybe I'm a dreamer. You mentioned for every home that comes onto the market, 10 are lost. Would you be able to share, is that through attrition, sale, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's definitely a part of it. What was put forward to me was essentially the idea that, okay, great, we're building one affordable unit over here, but we've actually raised 10 to, lead to gentrification, whether we're building larger homes that no longer fit that affordability standard. We've now built a 6-unit or a 12-unit condo piece that, again, no longer fits that affordable standard. Or nothing is being rebuilt. So it's a bit of a skewed stat in my opinion, but it's extremely impactful, and we saw it. We see it here all the time, right? How many times do you see somebody take a house down? I mean, we just saw it along number 2. I drive number 2 every day, right between Williamsburg and Cornwall, and we see them take down houses to then build something else. And don't get me wrong, we need the development. It brings so much economic good for our area. I will never say don't build a house, but it's all of the others that go with it. And when the other is unknown, that's when we get into trouble.
No, perfect. And thank you for the explanation. Again, we're always so focused on getting a return on investment where this is growing value that will generate a larger return down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further questions or comments from Ms. Cars? Councillor Urick.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the presentation, Bracken. I appreciate it. I can understand and I can appreciate kind of the conversations here at the local level. But my question is what, if any, conversations are taking place kind of above us? You know, where there are mechanisms in place that are perhaps factoring into this housing crisis we find ourselves in.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, loaded answer to a loaded question. So from Habitat for Humanity Canada, because we have national partnerships, they are in the works of securing corporate donors who would be able to funnel down and support this. And the best real world example I can give you is the build that we just completed in Ingleside. We actually received $50,000 from Enbridge. So I'm not going and knocking on Enbridge's door here by any means, but because of those relationships, they were able to funnel that through to us. So there are talks, I guess, on the back end with Habitat Canada. We are also coming to the end of a multi-year agreement with the CMHC that, again, was facilitated through Habitat Canada to bring that down for our build program. But there are alternative sources of funding through CMHC and other FedDev pieces and things like that for us to access. But in terms of, you know, when we talk about that top-down approach, I don't know what that looks like. It really feels like the little Dutch boy with his finger in the dam here right now. But if we can at least hold back a little bit, for every person that we keep housed, I'm happy for it.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if you remember, Brecken, but I had the good fortune to be in Ingleside
Yes.
recently, and it is quite a moving event to be in attendance, to see a young family move into their first home, and it was quite a joyous moment. The yells and screams from the little ones running around looking at their brand new bedroom and just imagining, you know, what they're going to put on the walls and where the bed was going to go. It was quite a day, and it's fantastic work that goes on, and we will have an opportunity, I think, shortly in December to have a discussion based on your request. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you so much, Council.
Thank you. And our next delegation is Mr. Bill Smurl. Mr. Smurl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor Teresa and Councilors Gary, John, and Matt. I'm here tonight, and I'm apologizing to start with because usually I get some information into you in advance. I didn't get it in tonight because we approved the draft of the budget at South Nation at the last meeting, but I was told I couldn't share the information until the letter had gone out to all the municipalities, which just happened yesterday to this municipality and the rest of them today. So I was able to get you copies of the proposed draft budget, and I wanted to make a few comments on it, and it was an hour-and-a-half presentation, and I'm going to try to update you in 4.5 to 5 minutes. So just to see how we do. The budget, in the last few years, the new Conservation Act, a couple of years ago, changed how we do business. Before that, the council the South Nation Council or Board used to make the decision and approve it, and as your representatives, that's the way it was. Well, there were places across Ontario that didn't see things quite the way we did, and so there was a decision made by the ministry that, number one, now the draft budget's approved, it has to be circulated to councils and for 2 months, or a month and a half, and then it'll come back to us in January, and any changes or suggestions or debate that you people or input you people give will be included in the final approach to the budget. With the old act, all of the things that South Nation or conservation authorities did was just totally everything they decided on. Well, the ministry, in its wisdom, decided that there are certain things you have to do, so they're category 1. There are certain things that are pay for service, like sewage systems and investigating and checking them. That's category 2. And the third category was the voluntary services that weren't necessary, but were or had been offered in many municipalities over the years. And because of that, people in the area were used to them and liked them. And we're talking about such things as education, tree planting, clean water, believe it or not, clean water. And those were the areas that are now optional. South Nation felt very strongly about it about a year and a half ago, and they came to every council in the SDNG, the South Nation Conservation Authority, and made a presentation saying these optional programs are quite important to us. And 100% of the municipalities agreed and said go for it and continue them. So we're one of the few municipalities that has a number of these extra programs, including purchasing land and going after grants to get the land, etc. So that's a quick overview of where we are at the moment. I think I mentioned to you at the last meeting, but if I didn't, I'll mention now. We worked on the theory that it would be a 2.9% increase. And each year, we base that on the City of Ottawa as a starting point. We base it on the City of Ottawa because just under 80% of the dollars paid to South Nation Conservation comes from the City of Ottawa. And so 2.9% plus 1.5% growth, so 4.4% is the amount of increase here. And as I mentioned, South Nation approved this draft at the meeting in November. Now it's out for debate and review, and I wanted to just take you through a few little parts of it and explain a couple of parts of it. So if you'll turn to page 6, you'll notice a few different things, and you'll notice that there's a considerably less dollars in some of the draft budget for 25 than in the forecast for 24. And most of that reason was because grants were figured into that, and they aren't now, and grants haven't been approved for 25 yet because they're applied for throughout the year. So that's the main explanation of that. The total overall, there are about 4 categories: total resource management, total operating expense, total resource management, and total corporate services. And I should have said total corporate services as well, and total property approvals. So these different areas are looked after by South Nation, and each of them has the budget for that area laid out. And as you go back through the rest of this particular budget, you'll see the details of exactly what is planned for those areas. The total overall expense estimated for this year is $9,080,599, and that's down about 3/4 of the way on the second column from the right. And I think that's the only thing I wanted to cover there. If there are questions later, I'll hear them, Mr. Mayor. And the estimated reserve on page 7 at the halfway down on the right side is 3.359 million. And I should go back and say about the budget, once the budget is approved officially in January, if any special event comes forward that is necessary, no dollars will be taken out of any other place except staff will look at where they can take money from another program that was set up for the year and then use it to complete the program that is necessary because of. Does that make sense? Okay? And so if you look at page 8, that one's always of interest. You'll see that Ottawa pays, well, the estimate for Ottawa is for this year is 3.546625 million, and North Dundas will be $110,671. Now that's a $2,474 increase. Now, I want to take a minute and just to comment on that because I'm pretty positive about South Nation, as you've seen in the past, but I'm also positive about what our payback is here. We have 4 main properties that are looked after by South Nation, and that's the Scout Center south of town, Cass Bridge, Oak Valley, and Oshman Forest. Also, I wanted to mention that one of the most expensive things in this township is the dam in Chesterville. And last year, there was, I believe it was $388,000 spent on that dam. And that money was coming from all of the municipalities to pay for it for us. And that more than covers the dollars we put in. But also, there was $180,000 spent upgrading and preparing the banks of the South Nation in Oak Valley. And that's not counting that South Nation looks at each of the parks I mentioned. Oshman is the actual center for maple syrup production and maple syrup education in the area. And so just to give you an idea of, do we get some dollars back and do we do better than other municipalities? I think so. And is it important to have South Nation involved? I think so as well. And is it important to have the City of Ottawa involved? Yes, that helps also. And you know that their fees they pay is based on their assessments. So that's quickly looking at the areas. I think I can, well, you can flip over and see other areas as you go through if you're interested, but I think the only other area I want to mention is there will be dollars spent. Oh, I wanted to mention that in Chesterville, besides putting in the dock and the one out in Cass Bridge, they also voluntarily, and we requested this of them about 4 or 5 years ago, they put in the fountain each year for the Rotary Club. So there's a few extra little donations that are done as we go along. So, I mentioned that the reason I didn't have this out to you earlier was because I couldn't release it until they gave me the okay and it had been sent out to everyone. But that's it in a nutshell. I think it's a good budget. The only other thing I could add is, if you have further questions, feel free to call me. But if you would like a presentation by South Nation staff on any of the areas of this to give you additional information, just make the request. I'd be pleased to take it, and they will make arrangements to come to a council meeting and do a presentation. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm ready for easy questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Smurl, for this presentation. It's I use you as the is it bellwether? Would that be the proper term? Whenever I talk about delegations and the information provided and how this information is absolutely necessary. And if you'll indulge me, years and years ago, South Nation was you said it quietly around people because you didn't want to start a discussion. But with this information that we're getting here, it brings to light, and hopefully the information travels around the community. The things that you spoke about, like the dam in Chesterville, and the other activities that go on that teach us and the young people in the area about our community and about the watershed and how important it is. So it's a good project, and I'm glad Ottawa's there to look after the lion's share of everything. But I do look around to members of council for any questions or comments. Seeing none, so Mr. Smurl, thank you once again. It's always good to hear from you, and it's always good to learn more about South Nation. So thank you.
So thank you very much, and may I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, because this is my last presentation till probably when the budget's approved in third Thursday in January. That's next year.
Thank you very much, and same to you. So we're going to move into action requests. And Mr. Paul. Moved by Councillor Annable, second by Councillor Lennox, that council approve a facade improvement grant of $2,017.24 and a commercial improvement loan of $17,000 to Winchester Meadows Development, Inc. under the Township of North Dundas's Community Improvement Plan for the building located at 545 St. Lawrence Street, Winchester, and that council authorize the mayor and interim CAO to execute the required agreement. Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser. So we have another request for community improvement funds from our fund that's quickly dwindling and gone over. As you know, we've had many applications this year. Previously, we used to have $25,000 available. In recent budgets, we didn't get that many requests, so we knocked it down to 15. You'll see later on a request to bump that up. But this is another application. We are getting a tremendous uptake. There's actually another one in the wings that looking to apply for hopefully December into January for another one. So we're debating whether that goes in this year's budget or next year's budget. But we've had a fantastic uptake on our community improvement requests. So this is another one for $2,017 for facade improvements. It's a new business going to be located in the former Winchester Press building at the back. They want to do another door on there and an entrance treatment to get access in behind the IDA, which is now open. So this is across the street almost from the fire hall or our municipal building at 547 St. Lawrence. So this request is also for a grant application of loan application for $17,000. So that's paid back over time. So that's a separate fund that we use for that. So if you have any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Lennox, seconded by Councillor Annable, that bylaw number 2024-81 being a bylaw to amend the former Township of Mountain zoning bylaw 79-6 as amended for the property legally described as Concession 9, part of Lot 7, former Township of Mountain, now the Township of North Dundas, County of Dundas, being parts 1 and 2 on reference plan 8R5987, municipally known as 10591 Kerrs Ridge Road, Hallville. Be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 5th day of December 2024. Mr. Paul.
So following up on the public meeting that we just had earlier this evening or this afternoon, this is the amendment that would pass the amendment that was being proposed at the public meeting. This will take into account the land that we are obtaining as part of the back of this property and also separates a triangle in the back, which will be a new residential lot. The zoning amendment that will be on that lot specifically does limit the size of the house. We did some hydrogeological work that was done by a consultant to determine what size the house should be, what the setback should be, and where the septic fits and all the rest of it. So that's contained in the actual zoning amendment to specify those things in the amendment itself. So if somebody purchases this property, they know that's the maximum house size that you can put on there. This is where the septic should go and that sort of thing to make it fit on the property, because it's a triangular piece, and you have the municipal drain or the creek, Wiley Creek, running behind this property. So that's what that takes into account.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Moved by Councillor Annable, second by Councillor Lennox, that bylaw number 2024-82 and bylaw number 2024-83 being bylaws to authorize the execution of contracts of employment with the Township of South Stormont for James Moran and Troy Merriman for Deputy Chief Building Official and Building Inspection Services within the Township of North Dundas. Be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 5th day of December 2024. Mr. Paul.
So the next bylaw is to appoint 2 officers for the replacement. We have a paternity leave coming up, and we want to protect ourselves to make sure we have inspection services available should we need that with the adequate qualifications. This particularly applies to Dundas Manor as they rebuild. So if we need inspections on the Dundas Manor, we have somebody available that can come up here. This is part of our partnerships with neighboring municipalities that we cooperate together, and they're willing to allow 2 of their building officials to come here and do inspections during the absence. So it's on an as-needed basis. Only when we need them, they would come up here and help us. We'd prefer to have 2 just to make sure you have some coverage if one's away or on vacations or whatever. We can make or do the inspections we need to do in a timely manner.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Now, Mr. Pohl, with your other hat. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the same hat. Moved by Councillor Lennox, second by Councillor Annable, that council approve budget amendment number 2024-07 in the amount of $8,432 to cover approved community improvement plan files anticipated to be paid out by December 31, 2024. Mr. Pohl.
So as I pointed out earlier this evening, we did have a strong uptake on our CIP plans, and council's always made sure we have the flexibility. If we did get a lot of applications, we would reassign budget amounts, and this is a request for that, to take the funds from an existing fund that has not been used to its full extent. This bumps us up to about $23,000 for the year as far as all the applications that we've received. So this application, or excuse me, this amendment application will take it from the resource guide. There's funds left in the resource guide that can be used towards these community improvement applications and helping the community at large.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Moved by Councillor Annable, second by Councillor Lennox, that council approve budget amendment number 2024-10 in the amount of $2,313 plus HST to cover the cost of improving upon and protecting the tech equipment utilized for the production of council meetings. Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser. So this is another request for the same account. There's some surplus in there that hasn't been used. We're looking for $2,313 to upgrade some of the equipment that we use for council meetings, also to secure it. We like to be able to close that. We have other meetings that take place in here, and we found people tinkering or unplugging stuff, and we end up with a nightmare when it comes to council meetings. We like to secure that also and get the proper equipment so we don't have delays during council meetings. Then basically upgrade some of the equipment that we need to operate as a council and have sound, quick, clean meetings without interruptions that we've had in the past. So hopefully that'll clean some of that up.
Thank you. Questions, comments, thoughts? I just maybe bring to my fellow councillors' attention that there are councils in SDG that are moving away from the expense of recording and broadcasting, or broadcasting live, excuse me, I'll get it right yet. There's some councils in SDG that have, I think they've already ceased broadcasting it live on YouTube, and it's recorded so it can be made sure it's appropriate and the sound is adjusted properly. So just things are in flux, but to the question, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Uhrig, that council approve policy number 109-2024 being a policy to establish a performance review process for the Chief Administrative Officer as presented this 5th day of December 2024. Mr. Pohl.
Thank you. So this is a follow-up on the KIR from our last council meeting. So we've amended one of the sections to have incremental reviews, amending that to up to 4 times a year rather than mandatory 4 times a year. So that gives council some discretion as far as how often you want to do it in a given year.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you, Mr. Pohl. Chief. Moved by Councillor Uhrig, second by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, that council declares the Village Queen a 1940 Chevrolet truck, and we always have to make sure we express that it's a truck, with a hail pump to be declared surplus to the needs of the municipality, and authorizes the sale of the Village Queen to the North Dundas Firefighters Association for the amount of $1. Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yes, the Village Queen is near and dear to our hearts, of course, in the fire service. However, it has not been used in active service for more than 20 years, and The municipality currently pays the insurance on it. The Firefighters Association has paid the maintenance for at least 2 decades. And Mr. Mayor, as you can attest, this was a project that we had discussed many years ago in Station 3, how to go about this. And Councillor Lennox was instrumental in forming a proper association that is able to carry insurance. And at this time, I feel with the cost of insurance that the municipality's having to, pay out every month for vehicles, this would be a good time to allow the association to take ownership, and the association has expressed interest that they will take ownership of it and continue to be the caretakers of the vehicle.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Lennox.
Good evening, Chief. I'm assuming you're going to structure it in the same fashion which Chesterville does for maintaining it, using it for parades, etc., and have a policy or something in order?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that is the intention. The association was set up virtually identical to the association that the former Chesterville firefighters had, and that is the intention, to have the insurance policy. And I believe the association has decided on, operators, and so the unit is operated in a safe manner.
All right. I think this is a good go. Again, as Chief Ray Strick mentioned, Station 3 has been maintaining this out of their own pockets and their own volunteer time. $1, that's a good price. That's a fair market price, fair market value.
Further questions, comments? So, Chief, Councillor Lennox was inquiring about being managed in the same fashion as the Station 4? Chesterville?
Station 4, yes.
Thank you. And that's the 53. Is there a yearly dues, a yearly subscription, a yearly fee to be paid by members of the association?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So with Station 4, they currently have a set fee deducted from their pay. That's a little bit cumbersome for the staff here to manage. So the way it has been set up with the North Dundas Firefighters Association at Station 3 is just Tony is a member of, Craig is a member of, and you pay your $25 directly to the association.
Okay, good to know. Anything further on this? And this, as the Chief has mentioned, this has been a decade since we first started talking about this, and we've been fortunate. There's nothing unfortunate has happened to the Queen, because it would be quite expensive for someone to look after it. So this is better late than never, that's for sure, to get this going. And it's and thank you to all of those, and Councillor Lennox for making sure that this got moving, because it needed to happen. Saying that, all those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, it's carried.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Director Cheney. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, second by Councillor Uhrig, that Council approve budget amendment number 2024-09 for additional municipal drain maintenance to be conducted in 2024 and into 2025. Mr. Cheney.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser. Good evening, members of council. Yeah, due to the abundance of municipal drain maintenance requests in 2024 and moving forward, this year's budgeted amount of $200,000 will fall short. As municipal drain maintenance has increased due to the favorable weather conditions, a larger budget amount will be required. It is projected that an additional $200,000 will be required for the drainage maintenance to be conducted in 2024, bringing the proposed budget amendment up to $400,000 for the year. As the township pays the original bill amount to the contractor, with the province of Ontario reimbursing 1/3 of the cost through a qualifying grant, while the landowners within the watershed contribute to the remaining 2/3. and there'll be no impact to the general taxpayer as the cost of maintenance is funded in portion throughout a grant from the province, as I just mentioned, and the remaining portion to be billed to the landowners assessed to the drain.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Mr. Cheney, oh, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, go right ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. I'm curious. The landowners have how much time to pay back the drainage fee? Is it over a certain number of years?
Right, so we don't bill out any of the drainage maintenance work until we actually receive money back from the province. And the province is saying that they're up to 2023. They've got the money paid already, but we're still in 2022. So we haven't received our 2023 grant money yet. We have up to 5 years in the Drainage Act to send invoices out to the landowners.
Right. So my question is, so you're not allowed to invoice the landowners until we get the grant from the province, okay, which may take a couple of years if they're back to 2022. And once the landowners have the invoice, is it something they have to goes on their taxes, or they have a certain, like, do they pay it over 5 years, or it has to be paid in 1 year?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they get, once they receive an invoice, and this will be a question for finance, but I believe once they receive an invoice, it's like any other regular invoice, they're given 60 to 90 days to pay it.
Okay.
And if they don't, then it does go on their taxes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Cheney, the work is doubled, essentially.
Correct.
Will there be opportunity to complete all of that work into 2025? Because I would imagine there's lots of drains everywhere throughout SEG, and especially our neighbor to the south, South Dundas. And I'm just wondering, is it going to be feasible?
I believe so. If you take the numbers from last year, we had a great winter. It's all weather dependent. As long as we don't get too much snow, we can keep doing maintenance up till 31st of March. Once that happens, then, according to DFO and SNC, then we need to stop doing any maintenance within the municipal drains until, usually for the most part, it's July 1st when we can start back up again. Last year, if I could predict the weather and we could see, we'd have kept digging and doing maintenance right till the 31st of March. We do have quite a bit of maintenance scheduled ahead of us. And not only just requests from landowners, but me as a drainage superintendent can also do maintenance on drains that I feel necessary or see issues with or problems with throughout the township of North Dundas. So there are some of those as well that we want to get to. So yes, I do see it feasible, and yes, I do see that we'll probably be pretty close to that amount by the end of December of this year.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else, all those in favor? Oppose? Seeing none, that's carried. Moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, that Council approve budget amendment number 2024-08 to transfer funds from the Transportation Department's capital roads budget to its gravel maintenance budget with no additional funds required. Mr. Cheney.
Thank you again, Mayor Fraser and members of council. The 2024 tender for gravel maintenance had included Thompson Road as a provisional item for gravel to determine if the prices would justify a full maintenance application or if it's just a small amount of gravel down the center would suffice. The tendered price had come in over the approved 2024 budget. And once staff was there and we started applying, I'll call it just a strip down the center, because that's basically what we were going to do. Staff made a decision to go ahead and apply a full maintenance depth of stone on that road, as there were some issues. We had quite a few potholes produced on that road, and there were muddy spots that we felt if we just put a strip down the middle that it wasn't going to suffice for the year. So staff decided to go ahead and put a full lift of maintenance gravel on it. So staff is requesting that the funds from the capital roads project be transferred to the gravel maintenance. As we knew there was going to be some savings, we weren't quite sure how much savings were going to be, because most of our capital roads projects were tendered by the SDNG counties. So we just received her staff had received their invoice not too long ago, so we were able to be confident in our amount to do a budget amendment on the gravel maintenance.
Thank you. Questions, Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Director Ward. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Urick, that bylaw number 2024-78 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Circular Materials Ontario for the promotion and education of recycling in North Dundas be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 5th day of December 2024. Ms. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. And good evening, Council. So in front of you this evening is an agreement with Circular Materials Ontario, who will be taking over the Blue Box program in 2025 from North Dundas. In order to keep communications with the public seamless throughout the transition, they have offered us a 50% split. It's actually 51% split in our P&E, so our promotion and education material, which we currently use Recycle Coach. So similar to how we were being paid before by the province of 50% grant, this is exactly the same thing, except it's coming from Circular Materials, and is why there's a bylaw to enter into that agreement with them this evening in front of you.
Yes, thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Lennox.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to sit in on Ms. Ward's presentation last night at the public meeting, right? Public meeting?
Public information
Public information session. She was she presented well. She delivered the message to the concerned residents who attended. And one item she brought up, which was very fascinating, is that our local businesses are working together in entering into their contracts for the recycling game, to quote Ms. Ward from 2003. And this more education, because it is a big change. Things are, I'm expecting in 2025 to change a little bit again to address mixed use housing and commercial units. But yeah, I like it. More education, more awareness for a big transition.
Thank you for your comment. I missed you last night. You must have slipped out before I got here. But I did have a chance to attend, and I was quite lonely. But nevertheless, it is a big change for some, but I think with the Recycle Coach, and that'll help residents, and it should, those that use it, should not suffer any big challenges. The challenges are, as you alluded to, Councillor, it's going to be with mixed use, with service clubs, with volunteer groups. I hate to say it, but I think the province dropped the ball. It's a shocker that, and the more you think about it, the more you talk to people in the public that are involved as community members, they bring it to your attention. What about us? And it's like, you got to call someone from the province. It's out of our hands, and so I think there's going to be some tweaks would be necessary to ensure that people don't go off the rails on this. But nevertheless, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you for that. And the final one, Ms. Ward, is moved by Councillor Urick, second by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, that bylaw number 2024-79 being a bylaw for fixing rates for the supply of water/sewer services beginning January 1, 2025 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 5th day of December 2024. Ms. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you to Council, some of you may be scratching your head as to why we're approving rates before you've seen the water sewer budget. So Council will recall in 2023, we had a financial plan presented to us by Strat Management. In that management plan, it outlaid the financial capital for the next 5 years and how we would establish rates for the next 5 years. So staff currently is asking Council to set the rate for 2025, and those rates are within the report. We are looking to do we are completing our new rate study right now. And as Council is well aware, in the construction world, prices are increasing significantly. We're seeing more than the standard rate of CPI that is applied to everything else. We're seeing upwards of 4 or 5%. And when the study was originally completed, we had not seen that yet. So it's just an adjustment to make sure we're in the right place in terms of financial planning, especially since we're talking about water sewer. We want to make sure we have an adequate reserve in case something happens, and also enough money to replace assets as they reach end of life. So if council has any questions, I outlaid the changes that we're anticipating. So just for the public, currently in 2024, it's $1.35 per cubic meter used. It's going to $1.41. And then the sewer rate is currently $2.25 per cubic meter, which is 178% more than the water. And then in 2025, it'll be $2.57, which will be 182% of the water rate in 2025. And it's about an 8.7% increase between the 2 years, which is, we understand, is substantial. But again, as I spoke, the increases in infrastructure as well as the specialties that work in that infrastructure have gone up significantly. So if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Lennox?
Could we expect the bulk user rates to come up during the water budget? Those who are unmetered?
So through you, Mayor, to Councillor Lennox, there are no customers that are unmetered at this time. So a bulk customer pays the same rate as everyone else in this township. So we don't have, I understand what you're saying. Some municipalities have it's called a humpback rate, where they once they get to a certain level, they either pay more or pay less, depending on how it's structured. But we don't have that in our township. But we can certainly look at those items during budget. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
It's not Councillor Urick.
Yeah, thank you for these, Director Ward. I mean, just in terms of just the general public, I mean, obviously an increase is an increase is an increase, but I think it's also reflective of the fact that we are making gains in, improvements to our system, right? How many times have we heard, oh, the water's this color or that color or this or that, right? I mean, we are making strides, gains, whatever, to do something about it. And this is unfortunately, this is reflective of the reality we find ourselves in.
That's great.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you, Ms. Ward. We'll move into Key Information, Director Cheney.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser, members of council. So this is a key information report on our recent roads needs study that was conducted by the counties. So our roads needs studies are conducted every 4 to 5 years to assess the condition of our roads, provide recommendation on repairs, provide a granular base equivalency, or GBE, and GBE is a measurement to determine the strength of the road. It also identifies which, the roads need study also identifies which roads are low-class bituminous, LCB, or double surface treated, as most of us know it by, or high-class bituminous, which is HCB, which is asphalt, and provide a guideline as to when the repairs should be completed. And examples of that are either now, 1 to 5 years from now, or 6 to 10 years from now, and et cetera. In January of 2024, as part of the SD&G County's initiative to offer their expertise to the lower tier municipalities to help keep costs lower than tendering a third party, the counties agreed to conduct throughout 2024 a new roads needs study for the Township of North Dundas. A crucial missing component will be traffic counts for each road, which new traffic counters have been added into the 2025 budget for whenever our budget deliberations come up. Traffic counts help us to determine how much traffic has increased or decreased and the type of traffic that is traveling on our roads, for example, cars, transports, or farm machinery. These counts are important in determining the class of the road through the MMS. Though the final roads needs study is still in process of being completed and finalized, SD&G counties have provided staff with some information on what is recommended for the next 5 years throughout the Township of North Dundas, summarized below for council's review. So from the counties, their introduction, as part of the roads needs study, they give an introduction and they give some, some other very technical information once they get it completed. I have seen a draft copy, by the way, but it still got draft written across it, so it's not finalized yet. Just in the last couple of weeks, Mr. DeHaan was generous enough to let me read through it, and it looks really good, and I think council will be impressed once we get it finalized and get it back to council. So during the county's review, our road system, like many surrounding municipalities, does not meet the required GBE strengths required for our traffic loading. So the counties look at a cost-effective way of improving road strength. Municipalities can't afford to excavate and reinstate road bases, so adopting a surface treatment methodology like double surface treating will keep the road at the same GBE value with a slight increase in strength from adding some stone, which means you're investing in a rehabilitation that will have the same road failures in 5 years. So basically what they're saying in that is double surface treated does not add really any strength to the base of the road. You get more strength out of adding actual asphalt to the road. So all roads completed with this application return to the same condition rating in a short time and don't meet their expected life cycle. This is where the road systems fail quicker than we want, resulting in more maintenance because of the accelerated failure rates. So some examples that they have given just to lay out for council's consideration and just to talk numbers so that the public know as well as council that what these costs look like if you're going to do some rehab or you're going to be repaving or doing double surface treated on the roads. So in example one, take our approximately 271 kilometers of both asphalt, HCB, and double surface treated roads, LCB, at an assumed width of 6.5 meters, which most of our roads, for the most part, are that wide. So to complete the entire paved system with a 35 millimeter lift of asphalt, it would take an estimated 157,850 metric tons of asphalt at approximately $140 a metric ton, which equates out to almost $22.1 million to do the 271 kilometers out of our 408 kilometers of road. That's including gravel. So with a $1.5 million budget per year, we would have our entire HCB and LCB system paved in about 15 years. So if we were to pave all of our asphalt roads and all of our double surface treated roads with a 35 millimeter lift of asphalt, it would take us approximately 15 years to do that. And that's just the rural end of it, because this does not include milling in urban areas where, for the most part, most of our towns and hamlets are already HCB or asphalt. So the entire system would be maintenance free for approximately 10 to 15 years, at which time we would start our cycle over again. Keep in mind that we would likely see premature road failures in localized areas because of road makeup. However, these failures would require limited to no maintenance before the second paving cycle starts. So due to this, some of the roads, and as I mentioned already, municipalities would not be able to afford to dig each road up and put a proper base under it. You're looking at anywhere from $2 to $3 million per road just to put a proper base. So in the reality, I know it sounds like it's kind of a waste of money, but in reality, it's cheaper to pave the roads, have a few failures on it, repair those failures if necessary, than like in the example one, in 15 years, start to repave the roads and go back over the top of it again. That adds more strength to your road. Asphalt has a lot more, there's a lot more things we can do with it over double surface treated roads or LCB. Basically LCB, if you patch that, the patches just don't hold. They fall apart, as we've seen numerous times over and over again. If you put a patch in an asphalt road, that patch is probably going to stay there for the next year, 2, 3 years. We've seen that happen where we've patched, a pothole that started on an actual asphalt road because it's actual asphalt that we put back in it. excuse me, and it's lasted for, you know, the next couple of years. So to rebuild roads, to dig them up and rebuild them, put proper bases under it, it's just not feasible. We'd be hundreds of millions of dollars in order to do that. So that's just a little something, just, you know, to kind of give council just kind of an idea of that. So in example number 2, if we take just our LCB roads, which are double surface treated, yeah, there's approximately 167 kilometers of LCB right now in the township. Same thing at an assumed width of 6.5 meters. To complete the entire paving system with a 35 millimeter lift, it would take an estimated 97,000 metric tons, or approximately $13.6 million to complete all of that at today's prices. With a $1.5 million budget, we would have the entire LCB system paved in about 9 to 10 years. The entire LCB system would be maintenance-free for approximately 10 to 15 years, and again, and then at which time we would start the cycle over again. Keep in mind, again, that we may have some premature failure just due to the road makeup and the fact that, you know, we're not 100% sure what's under the road. We could do bore samples on them, but we're still not more than likely going to rebuild roads just because of the simple cost. On the second cycle, once it's been completed, we would have a 70 millimeter thickness plus the stone on each road. Again, with asphalt, there's a lot more opportunity to repair. We can recycle it. We can, once it gets a certain thickness, we can shave and pave, which you shave off a certain millimeter. You put that back in as a hot mix. You can do what the counties do now called cold in place, where you see the big train going, you know, it's ripping up the road in the front, and at the back, the asphalt's laid and it's all done. So there's a lot more that can be done with actual asphalt than there is with double surface treated. And council will see coming up in our budget deliberations coming up soon that example number 2 will be part of what I've brought forward in the transportation department as part of budget for 2025. So example 3, and I apologize, there's still a little bit more yet to go. There's a lot of information here. So in example number 3, if we were to pulverize and pave our HCB and LCB system, the whole 271 kilometers, and pave it at 50 mils, we'd be looking at $55.7 million to complete it, and it would take us 40 years to complete it at our current budgets and our current amounts of what we're looking at. The entire system would fail before we could get back to the first road we started with, which means we're back to pulverizing and starting all over again. To put it in perspective, we could pave our system 2.5 times, adopting the 35 millimeter lift with a leveling scratch, and the leveling scratch is a 10 millimeter level of granular A stone that, for the most part, always goes down underneath asphalt. It's a harder stone than the regular granular M or 5/8 that we put on our gravel roads. It's a little bigger stone. It's a little harder. So by doing that, we would achieve one pulverize and pave cycle. A 40-year life expectancy is not realistic and definitely not achievable. It will lead to additional complaints and continued maintenance operations for many years, resulting in expensive operations being completed with minimal gains. So on those examples, we were given some recommendations by the crew at the counties that did the roads needs study. And the recommendation of a 35 millimeter asphalt lift in all LCB roads will utilize our existing surface and add strength by leaving the existing materials in place. This methodology is being recommended because asphalt provides strength to its existing roads. It will provide more strength than granular A, which is the type of stone I just mentioned that we put down before gravel or before asphalt actually gets put on. So it is extremely important to leave any LCB material in place and build on top of it. Another advantage to asphalt overlay is its durability. You will invest in a material that should provide you with 10 to 15 years of a maintenance-free surface and reach the desired life cycle. I know we, kind of project a 10 to 15-year life cycle of asphalt. However, sometimes you see the odd crack show through. For the most part, you don't get potholes unless there's something going on underneath. And you know, crack sealing's part of our yearly budget of what we're doing now anyway. So if it's a matter of going and sealing up some of those cracks, keep the water out, then, you know, that's all part of the maintenance. Some roads, you know, 4 or 5 years, maybe you have to do crack sealing, maybe you don't. Maybe in a couple of years you have to do crack sealing. It's just, you know, with the winters we have, especially now with freeze thaw, it's very hard on all of our infrastructure for that matter. So this will also free up in-house resources to complete other tasks that may be overlooked because of the current maintenance demands. And, you know, we spend a lot of time patching. We do send out, and we'll touch on that just a little bit, but if it's something that council adopts in the future, then, you know, it always makes staff available for other infrastructure projects that we are starting to see now that our infrastructure with regards to culverts and stuff are needing to be changed. We're doing more and more of it every year, and we're limited on that just because of the limited resources and manpower that we have. So in closing, the counties have implementing, they're suggesting that to implement the outline methodology would enable North Dundas to pave 14 to 18 kilometers per year. The goal is to ensure residents and the traveling public are satisfied with the road system while laying the groundwork for the future technology improvements and recycling applications. Additionally, this approach would deliver swifter and noticeable improvements to the township's road system, fostering community satisfaction. We firmly believe that this approach will position future municipal employees for long-term success. And just to touch a little bit on what the counties have been implementing for the last couple of years, they have a new, I guess, paving schedule or a new paving design, which I'm sure Mayor Fraser and Deputy Mayor Bergeron are aware of, being on county council. And they don't pave all over the countryside anymore, where they're paving, you know, up here in North Dundas, and then tomorrow they're paving in South Glengarry or not. They're doing better scheduling where they're paving in one area in 1 year, and in 2026 they'll be here in North Dundas and South Dundas paving. And part of all of us as being one in SDNG, they really want us to look at road systems and come up with roads that is going to help partner North Dundas, South Dundas, and the counties whenever they come through to start paving. That gives us better unit rates. It just makes it cheaper in the long run for all of us. So it's a great thing the counties are doing, and you know they're sharing information with us, and we share information back with them on what we're looking at and what we're planning on doing, and they're offering more services to us, more expertise services. They've got a great bridge crew there that's going to be starting to do some work with us as well coming up in the near future. So it's great that we can partner with them. It saves us money, and it saves the taxpayers in North Dundas money in the long run. We don't have to tender out to third parties and stuff like that when we can go through the counties and look to them for their expertise. So that's the little bit of blurb on the roads needs study. Like I said, there'll be more coming in the new year. Once it gets finalized, I'll bring it back to council to peruse. And so just a few little comments that staff has added in. In the past few years, Township of North Dundas staff were forced to pulverize certain roads and section of roads for safety reasons, as we could no longer maintain them by just patching the potholes. As council has seen, you know, we patched the potholes, and a month later, there's 4 more around the patch that we just put down. So unfortunately, that's what LCB is, the double surface treated, and it just does not hold a patch like asphalt does. This will still continue, but will be eliminated should council adopt the recommendations listed above. So as we hopefully move into more asphalt roads, we'll start to reduce the amount of maintenance and the amount of patching and the amount of potholes that we will have. So in the last little bit, just to talk about patching, we currently hot mix patch every day for approximately 7 months. You know, we do some patching in the winter time, but we do cold patch, so that's kind of calculated in there as well. And if we don't have any breakdowns, which unfortunately in the last little bit we have, but if we don't have any breakdowns, we are able to hand shovel approximately 5 to 6 tons of asphalt every day, which sounds like a lot, but I've been on the patching crew. I went around with them just to see what it was like, and it actually goes fairly well. We use 3 staff for patching. 1 drives the truck and 2 shovel and rake at the back. And so it's a full day, but it's good to get out there and get a little bit of exercise. So by all means, if council is ever interested, I can throw them in. Or if anybody in the public wants to, by all means, we can do something, I'm sure. And if they want to help us patch someday. Yeah, I know. So here's some numbers that when interim CAO DeHaan was here, we sat down and we run some numbers of what it actually cost us to patch. Counties do their budgets a little bit different, where we don't include employees' wages in any of the jobs that we do, and the counties do, I know that, but we don't do that. We just have, this is how much our employee wages are, and this is how much our material costs. We don't add in vehicle costs and all that stuff in with our budget. So if we were to do that and add in employee costs, add in equipment costs and the cost of the patch, to patch the roads that we have for 7 months, you're looking at $391,000 a year to patch our roads in North Dundas. The way we do it now is council gives the roads department a $60,000 budget for patching, which goes towards buying the actual patch. So, like I said, our budgets aren't designed where we have it, you know, we're going to go out and do some brushing. Well, it's going to cost, this is our budget for that. That's employees, equipment, people, materials that we need and all that. That's not how we do our budgets here, like I said. But the counties do it that way. So it was just interesting that Mr. DeHaan, when he was here, he wanted to see what our actual cost was on budget once you included in all the equipment and the employee costs and stuff like that. So that's just a little bit of a tidbit for council just to see. And as you know, as our roads improve and down the road, you know, those numbers will start to reduce as well. So that's my KIR on the roads need study that's coming up. If council has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Deputy Mayor.
I live here, we all live here, and we know as council how many phone calls we get over gravel and tar and chip roads. And listen, I would love to see all the roads paved, but this is the situation. First of all, $1.5 million added on the budget per year to do this program is like 11% added to the budget. That alone, 11%. Our tax base, the problem we have in North Dundas is we have lots of road and our tax base is very small. I had lunch with a counselor from Kempville last week, and she was telling me that they just drilled for water in their water table. They've got a big tower up already that can supply 5,000 new households in the next 4 years. That's exactly what we've got now. If we could do that, we would have double our tax base, which would easily pay for that 1.5 million extra a year. But we're really stuck. We're kind of like Russell and Embrun were a few years ago. We're limited by water. Like the growth, our growth is being tampered so much. We just can't because of the water situation. And so the taxpayer needs to understand, yes, sure, we would love to have paved roads everywhere, but do you want to pay an extra 10 to 15% taxes a year above what the rate would be to have those roads? And, you know, unless we will have some new housing in the future when the new well comes on, but that may be 800 to 1,000 new households, something like that. And so, you know, I envy our next township because they've got the water and they can expand and do something about the roads. But for us at this moment, it's going to be a very difficult decision for us to do. And if I put it out there already, okay, you're tired of your gravel roads, you're tired of your tar and chip, we can do what's recommended. It's going to cost you an extra 10 to 15% on your tax per year to get this done. So I think the public needs to realize that this is what's happening here.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I will get to Councillor Urick. And just if I could reiterate, this is a key information report, and the intent is just that, is to bring to everyone's attention the challenges that we face. The challenges we face, but also the challenges that we have as council members to pay attention to the concerns of the residents. And I am quite comfortable and confident that there are residents, they get it. Things are expensive and things cost money. Anything good, you have to spend good money. Councillor Urick.
Well, I think it's without question and easily noticeable too that there's a pattern of years of getting off track when it came to our road network, and perhaps patterns seen in a positive light at the time, but now kind of the roosters have come home, of persistent frugality at this council table that has led us to this situation. And we are faced with this reality now. And to the Deputy Mayor's point, we all 5 of us here, as well as staff, hear continually from residents. My road, this road, that road, pothole, pothole. This is where we are. This is the reality we are in. If you want to kick it down the road another year, then we'll give you a tax increase that doesn't fill council chambers and rage and outrage. If you truly want action on the roads, this is the situation we're in. Difficult decision, again, to the Deputy Mayor's point, but here it is in stark reality for the public.
Thank you, Councillor Lennox.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the forward-looking of the county's suggestions there, where we're currently stuck in a rut. And to get out of this rut, no one wants their road pulverized. Like, you're taking a step backwards. So the idea here, I do like in principle. It's finding that balance with, it's not stagnant growth, but it's very slow growth that North Dundas is experiencing right now. How do we upturn that and finding a balance? Because I do support this. The primary complaint I see, and that really fills council chambers, is roads. And it's always been that, but it is connected to water. It is connected to all these other facets, such as taxation. So it's finding that balance, and I'm hoping we can be very creative come budget time and to find a happy medium.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Annable.
It's probably an impossible task, but I think the public has to be educated a little bit more as to what it takes. The kilometers we've got, your facts and figures for paving, 35 mil and 70 mil, they don't get it. They just want their road paved. They need to be educated a little bit better.
I guess I'll weigh in again. Thank you, Councillor. There was a director that was in our employ, and I was on a road tour, and I was talking about the challenges, and I was going through and I was looking at ditches with trees growing in them, and I was saying, we got to get the trees out of that ditch. We can't have trees in the ditch. It slows down the drainage. It does this, it does that. These guide rails, the posts are broken down. It looks like heck. And I was stopped, and they said, the director at the time said, got 6 guys patching. That's all they do, patch. They don't do anything else but patch. If you want to fix that, if you want that right, you want that looked after, you got to stop patching. If you want things done and you want labor done, you either hire a lot more people or you stop patching and you invest properly. And I think it was just around this time last year, or maybe a little bit later, we had the discussion about a road and a concern, and a reporter was involved, and the comment about LCB, how we're done with that. It's a waste of time and effort and money just to hire people to patch. And whenever I see $391,000 a year spent on patching, no wonder people are upset. That is an absolute waste of money to spend $391,000 a year on patching. We all know how it's a failure. It doesn't serve us at all. So we, to your point, Councillor, I feel we really have to be creative, understand the desires of our community, and I have faith, because to that former director's comment, whenever we drove by a farm, he said, Mr. Mayor, look at that farm. They know to have a farm that looks like that, it takes money. It just doesn't happen. It's not cheap. To have good-looking farm, good-looking fields, good-looking outbuildings, and good-looking equipment, money is needed. They know it. People know it. We all live and we all spend because and try to improve our lifestyle, and we all get it. It costs money. So I'm quite comfortable with the idea that people get it. We just have to understand as a council how much we can stomach to discuss it. It's a challenge because people being upset about the quality of the roads, I think they're telling us they want better roads. And better roads, it just doesn't fall into the sky. Saying that, thank you very much for that presentation. I look for more discussion about this as we move through the budget process when we get into it. And if there's anything else, comment-wise? The next one, please.
All righty. Thank you for that, Mayor Fraser and members of council, and thanks for the questions on the previous key information report. So on this one here, we're going to talk a little bit about our winter afternoon shift that was adopted before I got here. I've been at the township almost 3.5 years now, so this was something that was already implemented before I got here. And the purpose of this following KIR is to answer the number one question and concern that both council and staff receive, specifically after last winter. Why do we need an afternoon shift? What a waste of money. However, given in 2023-2024 winter was an abnormally warm winter which produced more rain than snow, this question and comment is not unexpected. However, I would like to remind council and the public that the days when operators drive around the clock 7 days a week are gone. Operators are restricted in a number of hours they can plow within a certain time period, and a review of our current regulations provided below will provide more clarity. In 2022, 2 shifts 7 days a week for most of December could not keep up with the amount of snow that we received, and we had to call 2 different significant weather events throughout the year. An afternoon shift allows the township to remain compliant with current legislation and have our operators available to plow snow within their allocated hours. To further lessen the cost of snow removal, the township has a contractor who only removes snow in the village of Winchester. And I might add that if we need the contractor to go elsewhere, if we fall behind, he is willing to do other, but so far up to today, or up to today's date, we have not had to have him go to any other villages. Leaving the remaining villages and hamlets to have snow removal completed in-house, usually on the afternoon shift. So if afternoon shift doesn't have to go out plowing snow, they're removing snow from numerous areas throughout the township. As streets start to close in a little bit, we have to get those back so we have more room for snow. So usually the afternoon shift does it when the traffic is lesser than it is through the daytime. And examples of our in-house snow removal would be Inkerman, South Mountain, Morewood, Chesterville, plus, like I said, numerous township properties that we own, and we are responsible to remove the snow from it. So under the regulations in the province of Ontario, and as of January 2007, Ontario Regulation 555/06 became a new law under the Highway Traffic Act. The law's purpose is to regulate hours of service for commercial motor vehicles, like off-duty time in a sleeper berth, on-duty time, and on-duty time driving. Municipalities are required to follow the regulations set out in this regulation because most snowplows are classed as commercial motor vehicles. And listed below are some of the regulations that pertain to the Township of North Dundas snowplow operators. I'm not going to bore you with all the rules and regulations, so I've just kind of shortcutted it just so that council and the public understand basically what we're faced against. Right now, we're on cycle 1, which is 70 hours in 7 days. Means that either if you reach 70 hours of work, you need to take time off, or if you reach 7 days, you need to take time off. So what that equates to is all drivers, no matter what cycle they follow, can drive 13 hours a day. That means you can be behind the wheel of a commercial motor vehicle 13 hours a day, and you can be on duty 14 hours a day. Usually they give you that extra hour that helps to do with circle checks, paperwork. That's classed as on duty, not driving. After those 13 hours of driving or 14 hours of on duty, drivers are required to take 8 consecutive hours off. So if you work a 13 or a 14-hour shift, it's mandatory that you are off for 8 consecutive hours. It means that you cannot be at work, you cannot be in a vehicle, you need to be 8 hours off. So after the 70 hours and 7 days, which that's the cycle we follow, drivers are required to take a 36 consecutive hours off. So that means that if you reach 70 hours, and it doesn't matter whether it's 7 days or 6 days or 5 days, for the most part, you won't reach it in 5 days because you're only allowed to drive for 13 hours a day. So in 6 days, if you're at 70 hours, you have to take a mandatory 36 consecutive hours off. If you reach the 7th day of work, after that 7th day, you have to take 36 hours off. Mandatory. You have to take that off under this cycle. So with that, normally what we do is if we're having a snow event, take this morning, day shift. We're not on the 2 shifts yet because we don't go till closer to Christmas. But the drivers come in at 4 a.m. They worked their 8 hours today and then they left. If we need them in the wintertime, usually what we do is 4 a.m. the day shift comes in. The day shift leaves at 4 p.m. Afternoon shift comes in at, actually it's 3:30. The afternoon shift comes in at 3:30. They'll work till 3:30 in the morning if we need them. So that's 12 hours a day for each shift, drivers on each shift. At the end of the week, the way we handle weekends is day shift will handle Saturdays, afternoon shift will come in and they'll handle Sundays. That's how we do it. That's the best way we can do it in order for drivers to have the mandatory time off for rest. So I just take an example. A driver has to be done and off the road at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. They cannot drive any longer than that, or that means they can't come in till later on Monday morning on their regular shift. So if a driver works till 7 p.m. Saturday night, he can come back, or he or she can go back to work at 7 a.m. Monday morning. That's the 36-hour mandatory time off. Same on afternoon shift. An afternoon driver has to be done by 3:30 Sunday night. Let me see. Yeah, so he has to be off the road and done driving by 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. on Monday morning, in order to give him enough time to come back in. No, that's not right. That's not enough time to get him off. No, they have to be off the road by midnight. Yeah, afternoon shift has to be off the road by midnight Sunday night in order to give them the 36 hours or enough time, consecutive time off, to come back in on Monday afternoon. So I understand that, people have said to me since last year that, why can't you just run with one shift and drive like we used to, where you drove around the clock for days on end. I can talk personally from that. I used to do that 30 years ago, but those rules and laws have changed. And, here at the township, we try to follow the rules and regulations as much as we can, or as close as we can. They're there for a reason. They're there for safety. They're there for the safety of the driver and of the public, because of the person behind that wheel. So that's the reason why we have 2 afternoon shifts, and I hope it sheds some light on if the public does happen to approach council anymore and ask questions why we have an afternoon shift. So with that, Mayor Fraser, I'll turn it back to you and to members of council if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Questions, comments from Mr. Cheney on the schedule of work? Councilor Hannibal.
Not a question, but I'm photocopying this and putting it right beside my phone.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney.
Thank you.
We're going to move into the consent agenda, and is there anyone that would like any items pulled? Any members of council or staff would like anything pulled out of the consent agenda to read the resolution? Nope. Nope. Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Urick, that all items listed under the consent agenda be approved / filed as recommended. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Boards and committees. County Council, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I need a break from talking.
You need a break for talking? Okay. So we had our budget meeting at the counties on Tuesday. And the final budget came in at 4.89%. 3.09% was due to external factors, the OPP, paramedics, and Glenstore Dunn Lodge. It would have been a lot higher because the OPP budget did go up by 21%. But last Friday, the province made an announcement that they were going to give back money to communities to cover the OPP. And because originally the budget was coming in at over 6, it was 6.89%. So the final budget is 4.89%. The actual budget rate went up 6.28%, but growth took the difference, absorbed the difference, and so it's 4.89%. There was mention of a new tax class for multi-housing. I think the province wants to enact something where multi-housing would have a reduced tax rate. The mayor questioned whether the township could decide on that or not, and it turns out that that decision has to be made at the county level, whether we want to keep the tax rate for multi-housing where it is now as residential or have a break. The Inkerman Bridge will go ahead in 2025, but they have now decided, that was from, no, I think that was from meeting, yes. It will not be a full bridge closure. The Inkerman Bridge is a very busy one. New Life Mills is right there. A lot of tractor trailers go by. And at first they had suggested a full closure, but now they're finding that that will not be very practical, so they're going to allow one lane. And that will finally go ahead in the coming year. So if I forgot anything.
I think you spoke about the important things, the budget, the Inkerman Bridge, the OPP. That was $1.1 million we anticipate will be transferred back towards SDG, supporting the SDG OPP. I think it was a $77 million grant from the province after their negotiations with the OPP. So, thank you. Parade of Lights coming up this weekend. Garden Party Market, for those that attended, if you were one of the thousands of people that attended the Garden Party Market, I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself, but it was a beautiful day, smashing success. Art in the waterfront. Oh, before, Councillor, I just want to thank all of those involved on the executive of the Garden Party Market, Ms. Window, Ms. Byers, Ms. Brady, Glenn Smurl. I'm not sure who I'm forgetting, Matt. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. I just want to thank them for all of their efforts and all the volunteers that supported that group, because that was a great day. I'm sorry. Councillor Annable.
Art on the waterfront, they're going to only have it one day now. They don't feel the expense for the second day is covered by what they take in for the second day. So they're trying to cut their expenses somewhat. There are a couple of new members on the board, and everybody's job has been juggled around a little bit so that everybody has equal responsibility. But other than that, they're just really getting started.
Anything from the CDHS?
No.
Chesterfield Carnival? Green Action Gang, Councillor Lennox. Dairy Fest, downtown,
We're quiet.
and the Morwood Rec Association.
Yes, December 14th at 6 p.m. is the Lawn Tractor Parade. It's happening in Morwood, obviously, and it's going to be a redneck of a time.
I trust you have a lawn tractor entered.
A John Deere, nonetheless.
I managed to secure one myself, so I'll see you there. Motions, notice of motions, petitions, council comments and concerns. Miscellaneous unfinished. Okay. So at this point, we'll be moving into closed session. And just to let you know, fellas, after closed session, we're just going to wrap it up and head out. So, moved by Councilor Urick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, that council proceed to close session at 6:15 p.m. pursuant to Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001, subsection D, labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically employee negotiations. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, second by Councilor Urick, the council return to open session at 6:54 PM. All those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, it's carried. We've come out of closed session and discussed pursuant to Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001, subsection D, labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically employee negotiations. And my next step is that bylaw number 2024, moved by Councilor Urick, second by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, that bylaw number 2024-80 to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 5th day of December 2024. All those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, that's carried. And then, moved by Deputy Mayor Bergeron, second by Councilor Urick, that council adjourn at 6:55 PM to the call of the chair. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you very much.